Polyev basically circumvented the legacy media and went directly online to people. And I know that's part of the reason that you're also graciously agreeing to do this conversation with me. I mean, it does look to me like there's absolutely no reason, and increasingly this is going to be the case for conservatives and centralist liberals to talk to the legacy media types at all. You just run your own show. And I mean, Polyev was producing his own ads and they were getting like 500,000 views on YouTube, which is quite much greater than he could possibly hope for on a legacy platform like CBC, cursed be its name. And so it's possible, I think, for conservatives and traditionalist liberals to take their message, their political message, or their cultural message, their philosophical message, directly to people in conversations exactly like this, and to say, look, and I do think it was the case that back in the 1970s, you know, the NDP was a genuine working class party, because most of the people who ran it, and many of the people who were members, were actually labor representatives, right? Union types, back when the unions were powerful. And many of the leaders, regardless of their stance with regards to the basics of free market competition, really were for the working class. But as you pointed out, that's all disappeared in the last 10 or 15 years. You saw that with Hillary Clinton. I mean, she basically abandoned the working class in the United States to go with the woke types, and that cost her the election and certainly contributed to Trump's popularity. And so the conservatives, and I think Polyev did this, conservatives could capture, I think, not only the working class, quite straightforwardly, especially working class men, but could probably also capture the immigrant population, because immigrants are a lot more conservative in Western countries than the population at large. And the fact that they generally vote for the liberal left is really a consequence of egregious errors that have been made by conservatives in communicating with immigrant populations. Because the message to them should be, look, we want you to come here and thrive, and we basically share your values. And so don't be voting for the handout people, because they make false claims of, you know, diversity and ethnic inclusivity. It's all a bloody ruse, and that isn't what you came here for.
There's a lot of lip service paid, I think, on the progressive side of the spectrum to reaching out, whereas I think you're very right that the values that we have in the conservative movement are really reflective of newcomers who come to Canada. I don't want it to sound sloganeering, but I do frame out how we build our coalition out and how we describe what it is that we want to do from a philosophical point of view on a range of 6 different values. So obviously freedom, and you saw that Pierre Polyev really talked a lot about freedom of the individual to make their own choices, get the gatekeepers out of the way, and just allow people to have more control over their lives. But there's also family, and this is the other part that I think builds out our coalition to include social conservatives, is we know that the best environment for an individual to be able to thrive is when they're surrounded by a supportive family. So any policies we can do to support families staying together, thriving, helping each other is going to be something that builds our movement. Then there's faith, and I would say that there's an open hostility to faith on the other side of the spectrum, whereas we embrace faith communities across the full range, because we know that adds that additional layer of support if something goes wrong. Our faith communities are some of the most generous communities when you look at how they support members who end up in trouble. On top of that, then I would add fellowship, because there are some people who are no longer part of a faith community, but they'll join their Rotary Club or their Elks Club or their Lions Club. And that's another way that you can build community. And some of the most amazing initiatives happen in a community at a local level when they're able to identify an individual issue and come together, and government stays out of their way. And then on top of that, free enterprise, it won't surprise you. I was an intern at the Fraser Institute from years ago. And to me, free enterprise, genuine free enterprise, where a person with an entrepreneurial spark is able to get together the capital and try something new and have that creative destruction that happens when you come up with something truly transformational to the economy. That's what we've got to nurture, because that is what genuine entrepreneurship and capitalism is really all about. And then the last one is philanthropy. And we always forget that our biggest supporters of all of our institutions, funders of hospitals and wings at universities, and all of our charitable organizations are the people who really did well through a free enterprise, and they feel like they need to give back to their community. That is the full cycle of what conservatism is about. And I don't know why we don't talk about all of that, because that to me is a full vision.
One of the things that's worth pointing out is, you know, part of what's tearing our culture apart at the moment are battles about identity. And the progressive solution to the problem of identity, which is really the problem of meaning and purpose in life, let's say, is subjective definition. I'm whatever I say I am. What I say I am is whatever I feel I am, moment to moment. It's intrinsic to me. And that's a really pathological, narcissistic, and egocentric viewpoint, and it's doomed to failure. And the reason, and I mean this technically, the reason it's doomed to failure is because your mental health isn't something you carry around in your subjectivity. Your mental health is in large part a consequence of being properly and harmoniously nested in that hierarchy of institutions that you just described. And this isn't taught properly to young people, and young people are looking for purpose, which the left, by the way, provides them, right? Because it provides them with a messianic vision. You don't know what you're doing, you could be saving the planet, right? You could be a rebel who's saving the planet, and that's a hell of a lot better than nothing. But the conservatives can say, look, you need to get married, you need to have a long-term partner. Because without that, well, first of all, you're not going to grow up, and second, you're going to be lonesome, and third, you're going to need love. And it's like, find a partner. That's the basis for a family. And then, you should probably think about having some children in a stable, monogamous, heterosexual, long-term family. Why? Because you're not going to be sane without that. Now, sometimes you're not going to be sane with it either, but, otherwise you're lonesome and alienated and juvenile and depressed and nihilistic, and your life is pointless. And then, well, you need that civic engagement because you need to contribute to the community. And with regards to faith-based organizations, the left and the radicals are opposed to such things, but it's not like they don't have their own faith-based propositions. They just substitute for traditional religion, idiot rational religion, and it's completely counterproductive and preposterous. Most of that religion is based on something like a recounting of the Marxist story, and every time the Marxist religion has taken the reins of power in any country whatsoever, ever, all there was genocide and poverty. And so that's, if you want an example